packed agenda. I think we've got 11 updates and speakers today, so we'll do our best to keep it concise and on point and end right around 9 o'clock. So we will kick it off. Since our last board meeting, we had a very packed agenda. Just highlights, we made a small adjustment to the budget just from an accounting standpoint to convert from cash to accrual. Talked quite a bit about housing needs, workforce housing, attainable housing, trying to find really the best way for the Alliance to put some gunpowder behind those initiatives and efforts. Spoke around the summit and what that looks like. Obviously, I think we'll get an update from Brian Devine here from San Juan Basin Health. But the plan right now is we're trying to navigate that and put something together. And then getting back to, in-person board meetings and investor meetings and what the right time is for that. So probably many conversations that are happening amongst all the other organizations in town trying to kind of figure out what is the next step. So I'll turn it over to Michael French, our Executive Director, for his update.
Good morning. Thank you, Jameson. The state of Colorado will sunset the existing COVID capacity dial this Friday, April 16th, and most of the moving forward jurisdiction will fall upon our local PHO, San Juan Basin Health, with parameters and guidelines from the governor that they're waiting for on Friday. A group of economic development organizations have met with Brian and give him some feedback representing all the sectors. We collected over 200 surveys that we had sent out to all of our businesses. So thank you for your input there. It was very valuable for us to give them proper feedback. Brian does not have firm details today as to what that's going to look like. Like I said, they're still awaiting some parameters and guidelines from the governor that they're expecting this week. But Brian will join us this morning to talk about our status in terms of vaccination rate, which I think is extremely healthy comparative to other states and even other communities within our state, and continued safety measures as recommended. The American Rescue Act has created programs and influenced the state of Colorado recovery plan. There's lots of bills and programs that are currently in legislature, and the general budget is being formulated. The Alliance is following this very closely and working with our public partners to figure out where the opportunities for grants and participation in those programs are. One of the largest grant program that will heavily influence our community that we can take advantage of right away is the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. And Mary Shepard from the SBDC will talk about that today. That grant will be managed through the SBA and will be available within the next few weeks. So I'm anxious to hear what Mary has to say about that. As Jameson said, housing continues to be a top priority. It's a topic of conversation for many organizations. And as you know, this is one of 3 top strategic initiatives for the Alliance. And so we're figuring out how to drive this for an overall community perspective. We were pleased to be partnered with the Durango Renewal Partnership, who discussed Midtown URA in a developers forum this last week. It was very well attended. I think there were over 80 participants there, and we were really excited about what the presentation that Alex and Scott made around the opportunities there for developers to get involved. Today, Dan Corman will talk about March housing updates and Q1 2021. As Jameson said, we've spent some time at the board meeting talking about our financials. We're in a much better position than we were in 2020. This is a result of our continued support from our membership. Here's a list of renewals in Q1. We'll continue to update a slide like this on a monthly basis, but definitely on a quarterly basis to highlight all the renewals of our members. So we thank them very much. And as Jameson stated, we're trying to figure out, like most people, how to get back to an in-person type of scenario. I believe it's going to be hybrid for a while, and we're trying to seek the technology and the venue to do that as well. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Jameson. Thank you very much.
Super, thank you, Mike. We will turn it over to Brian Devine, who I finally got to meet at a vaccination clinic, and he's taller than what he looks like on Zoom. Welcome,
and
Brian.
Jameson is dressed more like an EMT than he is on Zoom when he's at those clinics. Good morning, everyone. I'm Brian Devine with San Juan Basin Public Health. I don't have slides for you today. I'm just going to read off a couple of key messages. As was mentioned, we do not have the full content of the upcoming state public health order, which will be published this Friday, April 16th. Unfortunately, in local public health, we very frequently learn what the state orders will be either the night before they are issued or even the day of during a public press conference. So what I have for you today is just some general themes. What we have heard is that there will be no more state dial. The dial public health order will be replaced with a new public health order, which focuses on the basics and does not make distinctions county by county based on the disease transmission statistics within each county. So it's likely to be a lot simpler and focused on basic prevention measures and on high risk settings. There is, of course, the opportunity for local public health agencies to issue more protective orders if deemed necessary. At San Juan Basin Public Health, we are also going to focus on the basics, things like face coverings, excluding ill employees and customers from public spaces, hand hygiene, ventilation, things of that nature. We do not intend to issue an order that maintains the 50% capacity restrictions at businesses in La Plata County, but we do not know if the state will be retaining the 50% capacities. We've heard both yes and no in the last week as far as whether there will be a state percentage capacity order or a state 6-foot distancing order for public indoor spaces. That, unfortunately, is the piece that we do not know. That means that regardless, we're going into late April and May fighting this pandemic with probably a smaller set of tools. And we really need everyone to be focused on our most important and most effective and cost-effective tools. Those are face coverings in public indoor settings, unless everyone present is fully vaccinated, and on vaccines. We do have a very strong vaccination rate in La Plata County. 46% of the county's total population has received at least one dose of an approved vaccine, and 34% are fully vaccinated. So by that, we mean they've completed their vaccination, not necessarily that they're all immune. This is really strong. This is one of the highest numbers anywhere in the state and indeed in the country. It is not high enough. The state's goal is to have 90% vaccination rate among seniors and 80% among everyone else. So we have quite a long way to go. And it is important that people continue to make vaccination appointments, show up for those appointments, both their first and second doses in order to fight the pandemic. When we have fewer tools at our disposal, compliance with face coverings and uptake of vaccination appointments becomes all the more important because those are now the methods that you are using to protect yourself, your employees, and your customers. This message is really important at this time because we now have the highest number of cases per week in La Plata County that we've had since January. Since our surge in the winter, we now have more cases per week and a higher positivity rate than we've had at any time, and that continues to rise both in La Plata County and around the state. It's really dangerous if people conclude from changes in state public health orders that this pandemic is over. It is not over. The disease is still present in our community and it is spreading, and it is being dominated by our more transmissible and more severe variants of COVID-19. This explains how we can have rising cases and rising hospitalizations while we have such a strong vaccination rate. That is the message that we will be sharing on Friday, regardless of the exact content of the state public health order. That is the message that we need all of you to share with your customers, your employees, and your partners and friends and relations. This pandemic is not over. We are getting there through vaccination. We will continue to get there through vaccination and strong compliance with face coverings. And anything that as employers you can do to make it easier for your employees to get vaccinated, whether that's by sharing information or by accommodating their schedule in making a vaccine appointment, would be of great assistance to us. We're always interested in reducing barriers to vaccination, and anything that you can do along those lines would be very helpful. In the interest of time, I'm not going to speak further, but I will stick around for a few more minutes and answer any questions in the Q&A or the chat function. Thank you very much for your time.
Super. Thanks so much for the information, Brian. We'll turn over to Commissioner Salka. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. Just a couple of updates here today. Last week, the BOCC attended a forum with Senator Bennett and Hickenlooper. It was City of Durango was there, the BOCC was there, and counties and municipal government throughout the state of Colorado. $10.8 million should be going to La Plata County. And once we know better, once we have better direction on how we can spend those funds, the BOCC will be asking for public input. The next item is we're advertising for a new wildfire advisory board, and the WAB has been created to make recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners for purpose of reducing wildfire risk in the county. The WAB will consist of 7 regular voting members and 4 ex officio members. If you're interested, please visit our website, co.laplata.co.us, and this application is due tomorrow by 5 p.m. If you have any questions, please call Carly at 382-6219. The next item is affordable housing. As you all very well know, it's a hot topic for all of us. We recently did a work session and developing goals around this for the county. I also want to say that I look forward to the Economic Alliance's involvement in workforce housing, and I can't wait to partner with them to hopefully address these affordable, attainable, and workforce housing. The next item is next week, the BOCC will have a goal discussion retreat. We will review 2021 goals and priorities, prepare for 2022 goals. We will also discuss the American Rescue Plan, affordable housing, and the RHA. Last but not least is today's, at our 10 o'clock meeting, we will have Denier on our agenda and we will be making a decision. Thank you all.
Thank you, Commissioner Salka. We'll turn it over to Councilor Noseworthy for an update from the City of Durango.
Thank you, Jameson. Good morning, everyone. I just want to follow up on Mike's comments about the meeting with the developers and the Midtown URA effort. The city's looking, doing due diligence on 3 city-owned sites that could be opportunities for workforce housing development. They are parking lots, so we also recognize that we would need to address parking with in any consideration of these sites. But I did want to share this is they've just it's been public. We're looking at due diligence on parking lots at 742 East 2nd near the Rochester, 678 East 2nd near 2nd Avenue Sports, and 917 East 3rd across from the library. So those are some sites that we're beginning to look at what might be feasible and exploring any developer interest in that. Our bump outs and the downtown configuration, you've probably seen some of those taking place already. 15 downtown businesses are using the bump out program and others are planning to use it. You'll recognize that this year we've increased the design and safety, particularly ensuring that ADA requirements are met for those bump outs. We have a $3,000 grant that we're making available to offset the construction costs, and we're looking at a long-term vision for downtown, and looking at a CDOT grant to support design options. And then the last thing I think of major is with housing. right now we have formal applications that have been submitted or properties that are under contract, which would result in approximately 475 new housing units being created in Durango, along with 16 ADUs. So it's a wide range of housing types: townhomes, tiny homes, motel conversions to apartments. But this is a enormous increase for us, and staff is prioritizing that. Finally, I'll add that we too are looking at the American Rescue Act and the use of funds that may be coming to Durango. We'll be prioritizing those around our goals. Definitely issues around workforce housing, transit, economic revitalization. And we too are participating in the Regional Housing Authority and looking at that as a way to, again, increase the availability of housing that's both attainable and designed for workforce. Thank you.
Super, thank you, Councilor Noseworthy. We will turn it over to Mayor Tarkington from Bayfield. Morning, Ashley.
Morning. Well, the big news coming out of Bayfield, we are currently under contract to purchase 30 lots in the town. This is to help address our affordable, attainable workforce housing situation that everyone's discussing. I understand that it's a pretty bold move for Bayfield, but I'm super excited that the board has discussed this ad nauseum and decided to move forward with going ahead and purchasing the property. So I will keep everybody posted on the progress. Youth sports are back, as well as adult sports. Our restaurant patios are buzzing. We do have some interest in bump outs on our historic Mill Street. We do have our 4th of July planning is in full swing. We will be having a celebration. It'll look very different than it has in the past, but we are moving forward with that. We are hiring a finance director. So anyone knows of a finance director, send him our way. We also will be celebrating Arbor Day this year with and planting trees from a grant that the town got for our tree board. And Beth Lamberson, our new economic and community engagement coordinator, is off and running with her laundry list of things that we are sending her way. So that's my short and sweet update.
Super. Thank you, Mayor Tarkington. We'll turn over to Sharon Craig, trustee for the town of Ignacio. Morning, Sharon.
Morning. So Ignacio's hit a few hurdles. We realized with our Rock Creek development, which is our affordable housing, that for developers to be interested, we needed some infrastructure. So we are taking a look at what that would look like to reach out and get some grants. But obviously we would have to put up matching funds. So it's a little bit scary when you're thinking about that without a developer. So still looking at that. Also, Fast Tracks did not receive funding for bringing fiber to the premise in Ignacio. The grant cycle, while they thought was going to be quite a large sum, wasn't as large as they thought it would be. So we unfortunately did not receive funding for that. But on a bright note, DOLA reached out to 4 to 5 different municipalities that would be looking at revitalizing their downtowns and partnering with a company that helps you create that revitalization map with your community, your businesses, and your leaders. And we'll be hearing about that sometime in May. And I've been asked to be in charge of our Green Chili Fest again. So that will be Labor Day weekend when we'll be hosting that. And we're just looking forward to that.
Super. Thank you, Sharon. We'll go ahead and turn over to Jack Llewellyn, Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you, and I'll keep my update brief as well. It's time that our community has a pep rally. We're happy to announce the Durango Rocks will be virtual on April 28th. It'll begin approximately 5:45 and it will be 1 hour because it's virtual. We can pre-produce a lot of it. You do need to register at durangobusiness.org. And you can see on the screen some of the highlights: Business of the Year with Durango Electrical Services, First Southwest Bank, and the Strader being the finalists. You can see all the other finalists that are listed there. Also, we'll be doing the awards for Nonprofit Entrepreneur, Spirit of Durango, Citizen of the Year, the Morley Ballantyne Award, Leadership La Plata Barbara Conrad Award, YPOD, and Volunteer of the Year, as well as an outstanding contribution to the community and the Diplomat Awards. So again, go to durangobusiness.org. I promise it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be fast moving. We have a few surprises in there. And again, we're going virtual, but by doing so, we can control a lot of the time and acceptance speeches, so to speak. Also, just a quick reminder, on our website, durangobusiness.org, there's a list of all of our upcoming events and a plug for Leadership La Plata. If you would like to apply for Leadership La Plata, note that the applications are due the end of May. Very important. And if you have not been through Leadership La Plata, I know there's a lot of people on this call that are LLP grads, and they can talk to you about all the benefits of taking the class. And last year's class did in-person and hybrid. And just a real fast update, the Business Improvement District, we're proud to be a sponsor of the rewards program. And there are still some of the $50 gift cards available, as well as the $20 gift cards. And if you spend $200, you can apply for the gift card, and then also $100 for the $20 gift card. But over $90,000 has been generated through this program. So we're proud that we can partner with the Business Improvement District. With that, I'll wrap up. And again, durangobusiness.org is where we have all of our upcoming events and programs, and get registered for Durango Rocks. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jack. Turn over to Sid Zink, Commissioner for CDOT. Morning, Sid.
Good morning. You surprised me. I thought it was a couple more down. You can tell from the picture and seeing me now that I've been on the commission for a long time. And but I am here to introduce Julie Constant, who is our new Regional Transportation Director. Region 5 is 15 counties in southwest and south central Colorado, so she's got a lot of territory to cover. And she is stepping in behind the retirement of Mike McVaugh, who was in that position for 5 years. Julie, as RTD, leads more than 300 employees in Region 5. And the region is responsible for planning, design, construction, operation, and maintenance of state highways and U.S. highways. Julie's been with CDOT for 4 years, but before that, she was the engineering division director for Mesa County. So she's been in this business for a while. But in the 4 years that she's been here, Julie has established close working relationships with local agency partners, city, county, and tribal officials. So welcome, Julie. And I've already been on expeditions with Julie, and she's just great to work with. So there she is.
Thank you, Sydney. I appreciate that. I do have a couple of slides, Emily. There we go. So I know the Alliance is probably very well aware of our connection project, but I thought I'd take a few minutes just to update the Alliance on where we're at with our progress so far with the project. If you want to go to the next slide. So just a quick overview. We're going to be constructing the new roundabout. We'll be constructing 2 very large bridges over Gulch A and Gulch B, and then continuing to realign the highway and then widen the existing highway all the way down to County Road 302. And currently, as you've been driving by on 160 or on 550, you've seen a lot of dirt work going on. And for that new virgin alignment that we call it for the highway, we do have the subgrade complete. So we have made a lot of progress through the winter months on getting that initial piece taken care of. Next slide. And as you've probably seen from Highway UN60, we've got a bunch of piers going up, and this is for the Gulch A Bridge. And so we are almost complete with the construction of all the big, tall concrete piers for this bridge. This is the biggest of the two bridges. And the week of April 19th, so I think next week, actually, we're going to be bringing the girders down, which are the big metal beams that connect the bridges, or that connect the top of those piers together. So you'll see us up there with several large, very large cranes with these big girders starting to go on top of those piers, as well as if you're driving anywhere between Denver and Durango, you may see some of those on the road as they bring them down as well. And then in regards to the connection project, this is the project information line, our project emails, and our website address. And then I do have a couple more slides on our Wolf Creek Pass Fiber project. So we have been working for a number of years. This has actually been one of my pet projects since I started with Region 5 in Durango, is trying to continue our efforts to bring fiber over Wolf Creek Pass. During the summer of 2017, I inherited a project where we brought it up to the summit of the pass, and now we're going to go ahead and bring it on down the west side. And part of how we did it was with a grant, and the items I've got summarized here on this slide identify some of the problems we have up there, and I'm sure the Alliance, this is not any new information for the Alliance at all. But it is a steep mountain pass, and one of the unique things of it is our truck traffic only makes up about 10% of the traffic on the pass, but yet there are 30% of all the crashes on the pass. And in mountain passes, usually dry road crashes are not the majority of those crashes, but in this case it is. And it's just because of the steepness of this pass. Truckers not familiar with the pass, not going down it in a low enough gear and crashing at the overlook or somewhere around the overlook. You want to run to the next slide? So what we are doing is we are continuing fiber. We managed to pull together enough funding between CDOT and a private partner to bring fiber from the summit of the pass all the way to the very east side of Pagosa Springs. So this, and we'll also be installing some power along the way too. By having the fiber and the power, that'll allow us a good connectivity to all of our VMS boards and our signs that we have that light up there that rely on solar right now, to the cameras that we have up there. So hopefully during storm events, you won't see our cameras going completely black, which happens quite often right now, especially if they can't communicate out. So the solar and the power will help with that. And then we're doing a couple of other unique things up there too. We're going to put a new color VMS board at the summit of the pass that will light up and provide a truck-specific warning as trucks are coming up the east side of the pass and getting ready to head down the west side of the pass, to try and get their attention, to help them understand that they need to stay in low gears, and try and use pictorially some examples of what it means to stay in low gears, because half of the problem is the truckers just don't understand how low they really need to be. And then to address some of our inclement weather crashes that we do have up there, we're going to install some friction sensors, which are going to be basically on our weather monitoring stations that we have. And those will talk to some variable speed limit signs that we're putting up on the pass as well. So as the highway begins to get icy and slick, the speed limit will start to drop on those variable speed limit signs. We are putting some more cameras up there to keep a better idea on the pass too. So our current schedule, we do have Maine Electric has been awarded the project. We anticipate we're going to be starting construction there on the east side of Pagosa sometime between April 26th and May 10th. Depending on how fast it goes for them to install the conduits and the fiber, it could take through the summer of 2022. That's how we've got the schedule proposed right now. But if all goes well and they get good digging and don't get shut down with weather days here at the beginning of the project and manage to work late into the fall, then we could get it all done in summer of 21. And that's all I had. But thank you for letting us come on and give you guys a quick update on what's going on with CDOT. And I look forward to working with the Alliance.
Super. Thanks so much for the introduction, Sid, and thank you, Julie, for the update. We really appreciate it. There was one question. Tim Zink has asked, is the documentary information on the Native American sites near that 550 connection project available anywhere?
I Yes, I believe it is. And I will figure out where that's at and we can get that out to everybody.
Super, thank you. And we'll turn over to Dan Corman, owner and broker of Alpenglow and board member of the Alliance for Real Estate Update.
Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well. We're going to go over some high level statistics as well as drill down into some areas as well. As you know, inventory is kind of the main title of every conversation right now. And so if you look at this information graphic, you can see single family homes in La Plata County are down for new listings by 32%. If you look at year to date, that cuts in half, which, you know, when you're adding 202 units to the inventory, it's not zero, which is nice. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Look at solds though, and compared to our inventory, that's an interesting metric to see it increase by 17% year to date. So we have a shrinking in the inventory, but an increase in sales. The median sales prices are up. The average sales prices are up. And take a look at March average sales price of a single family home of $735 in the county. And for the first time that I've been tracking these statistics, this is above in-town Durango. So the county is actually seeing a higher price point. And that's up 40% over last year, 23% year to date. Then you look at days on market until sale. We used to track days on market until under contract, and now it's until sale. So it's kind of a hard metric to keep a pulse on, but also down. But a lot of properties are going under contract the day they list, 6 days after they list, just because there's multiple offers and they need those few days to review all of the offers. So it's getting a little weird out there. And then month supply for single family homes in March, 1.2. And that's an extremely uncomfortable number. It's almost not real because we're not going to sell out of our inventory due to the difference in the different supply, but it is very small. Next slide, please. Now you can look at condos and townhomes, similar metrics. Sales are up, listings are down, prices are up, and this is, we skipped over it on single families, but the percentage of list price is 99% year to date, meaning almost every house is selling for what they're asking for. That's also due in part to many properties going over their asking price. So that's coming into that metric as well. Properties who have been sitting over a week tend to not go full price, and that's not necessarily true either. It is just bananas out there for buyers, and it's getting uncomfortable, but we have a little light at the end of the tunnel. Next slide, please. So if you'll see, the trend is moving upward for median sales price in both single family and townhomes and condos. The gray line is the statewide number, so we're well above the state median price points here in Durango. Townhomes and condos kind of fluctuated between the state's numbers in 19 and 20, and now we have surpassed those as well this year. Here we're looking at year-to-date in-town Durango single-family average sold prices. So if you look at that number of 645,000, that's below the La Plata County average, but still up 12%. Townhomes, similar increases in the 376 range. There's a lot of luxury townhomes that have hit the market over the last year. That's bringing that price point up as well. This is a graph that depicts interest rates for mortgages. There's a couple of different lines there. If you follow the Freddie Mac, that's the lowest line, the black line. And we saw our interest rates take at the very lowest they've been in history on January 7th. And that was at 2.65. And people have gotten lower interest rates. I've seen as low as 1.9 for 15-year, which is just crazy. Basically free money. And that is probably one of the biggest drivers of demand right now. The fact that people can get money in the 3.24%, which is what it was today, it's just crazy. And so I think what's going to happen, Jerome Powell talked about keeping interest rates below 3 all year, and maybe even through 2022. But just in the last few weeks, we saw an increase in those rates above 3, and we've seen up almost to 3.5, which is as high as it's been in a year. And so people are not fully sure what's going to happen, even the people who are pulling the levers. So very interesting. It's dropped back down to about 3.25, just under, and we're just watching it every day. At some point, it might spike to 4.5, which is still an incredible rate. But based on our history in the last 12 months, even 24 months, it feels a little bit higher, and that might cool down the market as well as interest rates increase a little bit. So driving forces of our market are the interest rates and the inventory. Supply and demand, right? So as you can see here, year to date, in town Durango active listings is 25 at the end of March. Today, we have 16 homes for sale, single family homes in town Durango. That's not a lot. And, you know, we don't have a good way of determining how many buyers are in the sphere, but there's a lot more than 16, and they're all pining for the same thing. And the only way to fix this is adding inventory. Next slide, please. This is the light. Is that, no, back one, please. Thank you. In 2021 through March, we added 200 homes in La Plata County. That's not zero. And so if you want to jump to the next slide, the trend is in May and June are the peaks, in January and December are the troughs for inventory. These are monthly statistics for new listings in the county. So as you can see, over the past 5 years, they go up, they go down. And every month, we're either adding or losing inventory for new listings. And so right now, at the end of March 2021, we are looking to add, we're looking to add more and more inventory through May and June. And that's my only hope, is that we can continue that trend along this line. It might not reach last year's levels. It might surpass them. We really have no idea how to, I'm sorry, somebody keeps calling. They don't know I'm on a Zoom call. But they don't, the numbers, we can't do anything except for predict from the past. And hopefully in the next couple of months, we will see inventory increase. We'll add which will relieve some pressure on the pricing and on the craziness for buyers. It's just so stressful to try to buy a house right now when you're going against 10 other offers, people not having appraisals and waiving their inspection rights, which is insane. I never recommend doing that. But we're hoping that this summer we'll see an inventory increase and reduce some of the pressure. That's all I got.
Super, thanks, Dan. We'll turn it over to Mary Shepard, Executive Director of the SBDC. Morning, Mary.
Morning, thanks. Hopefully you guys can hear me better than usual. I did purchase a new microphone for my computer. So a couple things that came up before I get into the two things that I was asked to speak about here. I did put a couple links up in the chat. One is that we have, I think 5 or 6 workshops coming up with Connect to Dot for CDOT, for anybody who's interested in the contracting process with CDOT. With all the work that's going on that we just heard about, if you have a business and you think you can potentially leverage what's going on with CDOT, I would say check into those. The other thing I wanted to mention that's really exciting is I got a call from Bob Bush, who's the lead consultant with the Big 9R capital project. As we know, that was grant, or the funding was reissued by the voters, so another 90 million infusion. He really, really wants to work with SBDC and Region 9 and other entities here to spend as much of that money locally with our local businesses. So that's everything from trying to find kind of the lead contractors, the primes here locally, all the way down to anybody who's a 1099 contractor who might need help getting ready to work on a grant. They're going to be a little bit easier as far as requirements for a 9R grant than it would be for like a CDOT or a federal grant. So we'll be looking for that because we're going to be working with them to get the word out and also to try and get everybody locally ready. They'd like to spend as much of that 90 million here in our Four Corners area as they possibly can. So let's get into what I am here for. The first thing I just want to quickly talk about, and I put 2 links in the chat for you, is the Shuttered Venue Operators Grant. At this point, hopefully, if you think that that is for you, you have done your homework and you've decided whether it is or it isn't. It is a little bit restrictive. What's really interesting with that is it's the only one of all these streams of money that Congress called a grant. And because it is a grant, it is going to go through the federal grant process, which means you have to have a DUNS number, you have to register it in SAM, there will be all kinds of reporting. It will be, you'll have to have a budget, you'll have to do, quarterly reporting. But if you have any questions, if you think you're eligible for that, and it is very specific who can and cannot apply for that. It did open on Thursday and then it immediately closed because the portal wasn't working. So they're working on it. Hopefully it will reopen. But if you know anyone that is looking to apply for that, needs any help, because it's a grant, SBA can't give us direct assistance, but we can ask around a question and often get the answer to it. So don't hesitate to reach out to us because it is going to be an interesting process. I think we have a couple of the businesses I was working with have decided not to do it. At one point, they said you couldn't get a second PPP. They changed that, but you'd have to get it first. And the other thing I put in here, which is interesting, is the cross-program eligibility. Right now, the restaurant revitalization funding is not on that, but it will be added to that. So you can see if you've gotten something, what else you can get. I don't think there's anything that you can't get if you're doing, you can't have shuttered venue and restaurant revitalization, but I think other than that, if you have PPP, if you have EIDL, that's fine. Okay, so let's get into it. And here's what I'm going to tell you. We sat in on a embargoed workshop or kind of webinar on restaurant revitalization. We were told it was all draft. We weren't allowed to share it. So I'm not technically going to share that. What I'm going to share, if you click on the last link that I added, if you want to follow along, the Restaurant Association basically went ahead and published what they learned in that. So I'm going to share what they shared because it's mostly in there what we learned. The big thing is that pretty much anybody who serves food and beverages on site to customers will be eligible for this grant. It'll be anything from $1,000 up to $5 to $10 million. So really, even the small players will have some set asides. If you're under 50,000 in gross revenue, there are set asides for you. So if you're a hot dog vendor, in New York City, that was, I think, kind of the intention. But really anybody, including distilleries and wineries and brew pubs, if at least 33.3% of your gross revenue is on-site sales of food and beverage, then you may qualify. So you can see that if you follow along on here. Do you guys want me to share this or do you want to follow along? It's up to you. But I did post it in there. So if you are in any kind of a category where you've got food and beverage, let us know if you need any help with this. We don't have a date yet for when this will open. And again, I don't have the official FAQs. We haven't been given official slides that we can release. So I'm just going off of what has been put out there by other organizations. So basically disqualifications are you have more than 20 locations. And again, if you're a franchisee, you could still qualify if you're an individual owner. You can't have a shuttered venues grant. You can't be publicly traded. You have to be in the US. You can't be state or local government owned. You can't be permanently closed. So if you did close your entity, then you will not qualify. You cannot be filing for bankruptcy under Chapter 7 or liquidation under 11, but if you have an approved plan for reorganization, you could still be eligible. And basically, they've made this really interesting because everything else has been like you had to have already been in operation by, February 20th, 2020. They understand that restaurants have a long runway and that there may be restaurants that didn't open until later, but had already gotten the balls, the kind of machinery moving. So there is going to be ways that you can calculate your restaurant revitalization grant, even if you didn't open your doors to customers until after those dates. And it goes all the way up, I think, until March of 2021. So there are different calculations we can walk through with people. Nonprofits are not eligible as far as we know now. Again, this is all what we are getting now. It could change. You can have PPP, but the PPP will be reduced from your final award. So basically, like if you were a going concern as of the 1st of January 2019, the calculation is going to be what was your gross revenue for 2019 minus your gross revenue for 2020 minus your PPP. And basically, you're going to be able to use that money for any kind of operating expenses, including debt service. There's a whole list of things that you can use it for. You can't be an affiliated business, and they've got some rules around that. Again, franchises, the franchisee could still be eligible. Let's see, I'm just flipping through here, making sure I'm covering everything. They talk about the forms that you're going to need for the application, and they're pretty standard. And if you did a PPP, you probably have them all already. You won't have to get you won't have to get a DUNS number and a SAM account. This is not a federal grant. It is just emergency relief funding. They are going to issue these in the order that they're received. So like PPP, it is going to be a little bit of a scramble. They did do some set asides for different size businesses. The total amount is like $28 billion, and they've set aside, I think, $5 billion for restaurants under 1.5 million, another $2 billion. I have those numbers, hold on. So there will be some set asides for smaller operators. But Congress has already indicated that if we burn through this money, they are interested in potentially refunding it, just like they did with PPP. So I would say be thinking about, you will apply directly to SBA, kind of like an EIDL. But what we heard, and I don't see it on here, is that they are working with point of sales companies like Square and some of the other companies that do point of sales. So you might want to talk to your point of sales team or company and see if they are working with SBA, but you might be able to apply directly through your point of sales company. Kind of like PPP was through banks, this would be another way you could apply for this funding. There's, again, directly with SBA, we don't have the application yet. There's some information about how you apply, kind of what those look like. If anybody has questions about when you opened and how you could calculate that, let me know. But again, it's in that thing I put in the chat, the link I put in the chat. Again, your gross receipts do not include the money that you've gotten from other federal relief grants. So it doesn't include your EIDL and your PPP. What we're hearing is that this grant will also be not taxable. It's not taxable income, and you will be able to still deduct your expenses that you use to pay for this. Again, you can't double dip on it. So you have to make sure these are unique expenses that you're using with this money. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else really critical in here. Yeah, again, you can still get employee retention tax credits, but you cannot, those eligible wages can't have been paid with the restaurant revitalization grant. And okay, so then the other thing is they're going to do some prioritization. So if any business that's 51% owned by women or a disadvantaged minority group, and they've got some listings in there of what that qualifies for. And it doesn't have to be one person. So if you're owned by 4 people and between the 3 of you or the 4 of you, you have at least 51% of you qualify under these, then you'll get a little bit of priority on this. Let's see. Eligible
Thanks.
expenses.
Sorry, Mary.
Yeah. So
obviously there's a ton of information, a lot of details in all these programs.
Yeah, reach out to SBDC. We'll be putting out final, like as we hear it, as we know when the link is up, we'll let everybody know. But don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions about your business and how you could apply for this.
Super. Thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
We'll move on to Jessica Matlock, CEO for La Plata County Electric. Morning, Jessica.
Good morning, everybody. So I'll be real quick because I think I only have a few minutes. I just wanted to bring to your attention 3 items today. One, we're really excited because we're going to host a electric vehicle webinar on April 20th at 6 p.m. I'm hoping that most of you have gotten the invite. It should have come out yesterday. If not, it's on our website with the link. You do have to register for it. But we're going to talk about financing and the benefits of heat pumps, water heaters, electric thermal storage heaters, induction cooktops, which are kind of starting to be the latest rage in new kitchens, electric vehicles, e-bikes, and outdoor electric equipment. So in addition to discussing the benefits of all those items, we're going to talk about how you can get incentives for those through La Plata Electric and other avenues. This is following our bigger beneficial electrification program. We just bought the 9R school, the school bus that's an electric vehicle, so it reduces the emissions for around kids. Obviously, it helps with cutting costs on fuel, and it does provide carbon reduction for our community. So we're going to try to work with other entities to look at their fleets. So if anyone's interested in talking to us about obtaining grants for your fleets on electric vehicles, please reach out to me. The other thing I wanted to bring up is that we are noticing an increase in solar scams. That's also on our website. But we're having a lot of solar companies from outside of Colorado coming to our members and circulating incorrect information. So there's 5 claims, and they're on our website again about solar, and most of them are not true. So we've put information on our website. We prefer that people call LPEA. We have experts available to talk you through solar. Each installation is different, so there could be challenges. We also have a qualified solar installer list, and there are local solar providers. So we really prefer people go through that group because they're known, they're our community, and they're the ones that we work collectively with as a partnership. So that is the second item. The third item is, don't forget, we've got Roundup funds. So every month we give out, I would say, close to $10,000 every month to qualified entities that apply for our funds. There's 2 different funds. There's one that's solely based on education, and then there's another one just general. So you can go to our website, and again, there's an application for that. But we just want to encourage our community that if they're struggling to find grant dollars or partnerships, come to our website, look at the Roundup funds, and go ahead and apply for that. So that's all.
Super. I really appreciate the update, Jessica. Well, we are wrapping up. We've got a few minutes left. I wanted to turn it over to Kiki Hooten. She had posted a link in the chat regarding the Center for Innovation and kind of the availability to office there in a co-working space tomorrow. So I'll turn it to Kiki for a quick update. Maybe. Okay. She may not be able to unmute herself or talk, but she did post a link in there for those that are not aware, the Center for Innovation, which is also where the SBDC is housed.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. Morning,
okay.
Kiki. How are you?
Good morning, everyone. Sorry, my video doesn't seem to want to turn on. I think, yeah, maybe just not being added to the panel. But anyways, my name is Kiki Hooten. You may have known me formerly with Local First. I now work with Fort Lewis College on the Center for Innovation, which is part of the business school, but it is a public space for co-working, private office, and event space. Many of you attended the launch party 2 weeks before COVID shut everything down. So it's been an interesting job to get it back running and open to the public. But we're really excited to be at the point that we're offering a free co-working day for people to come and try out the center. And that's going to be tomorrow from 8 to 5. You can drop in or utilize the whole day. We are asking that people go to our website and reserve a spot so that we control how many people are here. And you can do that at innovation.fortlewis.edu. And while you're here, you can expect high-speed internet, free unlimited coffee. We're going to do a lunch networking opportunity and then a happy hour around 4 to wrap up the day. So I hope to see you here and look forward to connecting with you all in person really soon.
Super, thanks, Kiki. Well, what a packed agenda with 1 minute to spare. We really appreciate everybody logging in this morning. I did want to highlight our renewed memberships and then a new member that we have joined. So appreciate the contributions from the county, city of Durango, town of Bayfield, town of Ignacio. Obviously, our municipalities are super important. Our Chairman Circle members, TBK, Alpine Bank, Durango Motor Company. At the investor level, we have FCI Constructors, Southwest Ag, Bank of the San Juans, and Janes Corporation. The associate level, with Tinger Cedar Networks, Friends, DIDF, so Durango Industrial Development Foundation. And then a new member coming in this last month is Durango Harley Davidson. So we appreciate that new membership. The other piece I wanted to highlight, we do have a tentative date for the summit. You're welcome to write this down. Obviously, there will be more information coming, but that date is October 27th. And obviously, everything about it is a moving target, as most of the other items in life are right now. So if that changes or moves around, we'll certainly let you know. Outside of that, that's all I've got. I'll turn it over to Mike French for any closing comments. But again, really appreciate everybody logging in this morning. I hope you found the meeting valuable, and feel free to reach out to anyone with the Alliance with any questions, concerns, or topics you'd like to discuss.
Thank you, Jameson. Appreciate all of the presenters today. I know everybody's busy, and thank you for the time this morning. We continue to have really strong participation in these membership meetings. And so I'm really looking forward to what a hybrid meeting might look like. We are discussing location, what a hybrid scenario would be, so that we can still have virtual participation for people that either have meetings that they need to get to or are dialing in from home and not quite ready to be out and about just yet. But we should start to move towards hybrid. I don't know if we can do it by next meeting, but we certainly will plan for something in June. So with that, we'll close the meeting today. We'll adjourn. And again, thank you to our members. Really appreciate you.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.